No one was looking at her when she arrived. That wasn't unusual. The room was designed to pull attention upward, toward the lights, the stage, the people who moved as if they belonged there. She took a seat near the edge, close enough to hear, far enough to leave without drawing notice. Her coat stayed on longer than necessary. No one asked why. Across the room, applause started early. Someone laughed too loudly. Glasses clinked in anticipation, not celebration, like the night was already congratulating itself. She watched faces turn toward a man who had learned where to stand and when. He spoke easily, hands open, posture relaxed. The room leaned toward him. Names were used carefully. Hers was not. A woman in a bright dress appeared beside him, confident in a way that suggested momentum. People adjusted their attention again, tracking the shift. The man smiled at her as if they shared something finished, something decided. From the edge of the room, it was difficult to tell whether anyone else noticed. A comment floated past, quiet, dismissive, unnecessary. Then another. Familiar tones. Familiar conclusions. She kept her eyes forward, hands folded, expression neutral enough to invite misinterpretation. Someone nearby glanced at her, then away, satisfied with what they thought they saw. The program moved on. Screens warmed. The lights changed temperature. No one questioned the order of things. They rarely do. She felt the weight of time then, not as accumulation, but as precision. Small decisions stacked neatly. Conversations that ended without agreement. Documents signed without ceremony. The kind of work that doesn't announce itself. A pause arrived without warning. It wasn't dramatic, just long enough to feel unplanned. The man on stage hesitated, looking toward the screen as if checking alignment. The room adjusted again, ready to receive whatever came next. From her seat, she stood. Not quickly, not slowly enough to be noticed for the wrong reasons. She didn't look at the stage yet. She adjusted her coat, then let it fall open, as if responding to a temperature change no one else felt. The first image appeared. Dates followed. Names reordered themselves. She waited until the room caught up. When she finally looked forward, it wasn't to confirm anything. It was to witness the moment everyone else realized they had been standing on the wrong side of the story. And then, without raising her voice, she began to walk. 3 weeks earlier, Adiz sits in the same conference room she has occupied every Thursday for 4 years. Her chair faces the window. No nameplate marks her position. The agenda circulates without her name attached to any item. Kunal enters last. Carrying energy, the room immediately reorganizes itself around. He greets people by name, asks about children, remembers details. When he reaches Adiz's end of the table, he nods once and sits 2 chairs down. Let's start with the quarterly projections, he says. The finance lead opens a presentation Adiz built Sunday night. The numbers are correct because she checked them twice. The analysis framework is hers. She recognizes the phrasing, the sequence of recommendations. Her methodology, stripped of attribution. No one looks at her. The discussion moves quickly. Questions arise about data sources. Kunal answers smoothly, gesturing toward slides as if he authored them. Someone asks about risk mitigation. He pauses, glances briefly in Adiz's direction without meeting her eyes, then offers a response that simplifies what she wrote by half. The room accepts it. Saad speaks next. Her voice carries certainty, the kind that comes from recent validation. She references our strategy and the direction we've established, as if these things emerged from consensus rather than documents Adiz drafted and tracked changes and sent back approved. This positions us ahead of the market, Saad says, leaning forward. Kunal's vision here is exactly what we need. Applause would be excessive, but heads nod. Kunal smiles in a way that suggests humility while accepting credit. Adiz's phone sits face down on the table. She does not reach for it. An hour passes. Decisions are made. Timelines are set. At one point, someone asks about operational details, the kind of granular question that requires institutional memory. The room goes quiet. Eyes drift, searching for whoever handles such things. Kunal turns slightly. Adiz can send that over. Not a question, not a request for input. An assignment of labor. She makes a note on the pad in front of her. Her handwriting is small, efficient. She does not look up. Perfect, the questioner says, already moving on. The meeting ends without ceremony. People gather papers, check phones, drift toward the door in clusters. Kunal stays behind, scrolling through messages. Saad lingers near him, close enough that her presence reads as intentional. Adiz stands. She collects her materials slowly, precisely. Her movements do not rush or hesitate. As she turns toward the door, Kunal's mother appears in the hallway. Visiting again, the third time this month. Adiz. The older woman's voice is pleasant, but her eyes do an inventory. You're still here. Yes, Ma. Kunal is very busy these days. All this responsibility. A pause, waited. I hope you're managing at home. A man needs to come back to order, not more work. Saad glances over. Her expression is neutral, but she doesn't move away. Adiz adjusts the folder in her hands. Everything is managed. Good. That's your place, after all. To manage. The words settle without echo. Kunal says nothing. He is looking at his phone, or pretending to. Adiz walks past them both. The hallway is empty. Her office is at the end, smaller than the others, window facing the parking structure. She closes the door and sits in the chair that does not match the desk. Her computer is already open. 3 documents are queued. Operational reports that will be attributed to other people by the time they circulate. She begins typing corrections into a spreadsheet someone else will present Monday. Outside, voices pass her door without pausing. She saves her work every few minutes, not from anxiety, but from habit. The kind formed when you learn early that evidence matters more than explanation. When the office finally quiets, she opens a separate folder, the one not connected to the shared drive. Inside are scanned contracts, incorporation documents, transaction records organized by date and entity. She adds a new file, meeting notes from today, cross-referenced with the presentation that was never credited. She does not name the folder anything dramatic. She calls it Archive. The investor meeting happens in a hotel conference room that costs more per hour than most people earn in a day. Kunal arrives early. Adiz arrives earlier. She sits in the back corner, laptop open, reviewing the pitch deck one last time. The financial models are sound because she stress-tested them against 4 different market scenarios. The projections are conservative enough to be credible, ambitious enough to be interesting. She built the sensitivity analysis herself, late on a Tuesday when Kunal was at dinner with clients he never named. When the investors enter, they shake Kunal's hand first. He's positioned himself near the door, smiling, expansive. He knows their names, their firms, which deals they closed recently. He's done his research, or rather, he's read the briefing document Adiz prepared. Gentlemen, thank you for your time, Kunal says, gesturing toward the table. We're excited to walk you through where we're headed. No one looks toward the back corner. The presentation begins. Kunal controls the remote, advancing slides with practiced timing. His delivery is smooth, confident. When he reaches the market analysis, he pauses for effect. We identified this gap 18 months ago, he says. While everyone else was chasing the obvious play, we saw the structural opportunity. Adiz remembers writing that analysis. She remembers the 3-week research sprint, the industry reports she purchased with her own card and expensed later. She remembers the consultant she hired quietly to validate her thesis before presenting it. She remembers Kunal reading it for the first time over breakfast, nodding slowly, saying, "This is good. We should move on this." One of the investors leans forward. Talk to me about your operational infrastructure. Who's running execution? Kunal doesn't hesitate. We've built a strong team. Saad leads our strategy implementation, and we have solid operational support across the board. Operational support. The phrase sits in the air, meaning everything and nothing. Another investor speaks. Your financials are unusually tight. Who's managing your models? We have rigorous internal controls, Kunal says. I review everything personally before it goes out. Adiz's fingers rest on her keyboard. She does not type. The investor nods, satisfied. Authority confirmed through assertion, not evidence. The meeting continues. Questions are answered. Concerns are addressed. Kunal handles objections smoothly, pivoting when necessary, holding firm when it serves him. He references our philosophy and the foundation we've built, as if these things materialize through collective effort rather than specific, traceable work. At one point, he mentions a strategic partnership that nearly collapsed last quarter. We restructured the entire deal, he says, turned it from a liability into our strongest vertical. Adiz restructured that deal. She spent 16-hour days negotiating terms with lawyers who didn't know her name, rebuilding financial projections until the numbers worked for both sides. When it finally closed, Connell sent a company-wide email celebrating our persistence and vision. She received no separate acknowledgement. The presentation ends with projected returns that make the investors exchange glances. Good glances. Interested glances. This is compelling, the lead investor says. I want to dig deeper into your governance structure and cap table. Can you send that over? Absolutely, Connell says. We'll have everything to you by end of week. Adiz makes a note. She will have it ready by tomorrow. Handshakes follow. Business cards are exchanged. The investors leave talking among themselves, voices low, considering. Connell watches them go, then turns back to the room. Saad is waiting near the door. She must have slipped in during the presentation. That was perfect, she says. You read the room exactly right. Connell loosens his tie slightly. They're interested. That's the opening we needed. The projections really landed. Your instincts on those were spot on. From the corner, Adiz closes her laptop. The sound is quiet but distinct. Connell glances over, as if remembering she's there. Can you compile the governance docs they requested? Include the updated cap table. Not. Thank you for building the presentation. Not. The analysis you did made this possible. Just, can you? Yes, Adiz says. She stands, gathering her materials. As she walks toward the door, she passes close enough to hear Saad whisper something that makes Connell smile. Close enough to see the way Saad's hand brushes his arm. Casual but deliberate. Adiz does not slow down. In the parking garage, she sits in her car for 3 minutes before starting the engine. The steering wheel is cold under her hands. She thinks about the cap table the investors requested, the one that shows her majority ownership, structured through entities they won't recognize without explanation. The one Connell has never asked to review closely. She starts the car and drives home, where his mother will be waiting with observations about dinner being late and questions about why Adiz looks tired when Connell works so much harder. She will answer politely. She will say nothing that requires correction later. The family gathering happens because Connell's mother insists, and what she insists upon occurs. Adiz spends Saturday morning preparing food no one will credit her for making. The jollof rice is perfect because she's made it enough times to know exactly when the bottom begins to crisp. The chin-chin sits in glass bowls she washed twice. Guests arrive in waves. Connell's cousins, his uncle, friends who've known him since secondary school. They fill the living room with noise and laughter and the easy confidence of people who've never questioned their belonging. Adiz moves between the kitchen and the dining area, refilling platters, clearing empty bottles. She wears something simple. No point in standing out when no one is looking anyway. Adiz, bring more drinks. Connell's mother calls from the sofa, not turning her head. Adiz brings them. In the living room, Connell holds court. He's telling a story about the business, about a deal that almost fell through until his instincts saved it. The room listens, riveted. Someone claps him on the shoulder. That's why you're going places, my brother, his cousin says. You see what others miss. Connell shakes his head, performing modesty. It's not just me. It takes a team. But you're the visionary, the uncle adds. The one with the plan. No one asks who drafted the plan. No one wonders who ran the numbers that made the instincts possible. Adiz stands near the doorway, holding an empty tray. She is visible but unseen, a distinction she's learned to navigate. Adiz, Connell's mother's voice cuts through the conversation. Why are you standing there? Go check on the food. She goes. In the kitchen, Saad appears. She wasn't invited to family events before. Now she arrives as if it's assumed, carrying wine and easy conversation. Let me help, Saad says, reaching for a serving spoon. It's fine, Adiz replies. I have it. You work so hard. Saad's tone is sympathetic, almost pitying. Always taking care of everything behind the scenes. Behind the scenes. The phrase is careful. It sounds like appreciation. It functions as dismissal. Adiz portions rice onto a fresh platter. Her movements are efficient, unbothered. Saad lingers. Connell mentioned you've been handling some administrative items for the investor docs. That's so helpful. He's drowning in strategic work right now. Administrative items. Strategic work. The hierarchy is embedded in the language. I sent everything yesterday, Adiz says. Perfect. You're so reliable. Saad smiles, then carries the wine back toward the living room, toward Connell, toward the center of attention. Adiz washes her hands. The water runs cold, then warm. She dries them on a towel that needs replacing. When she returns to the living room, the conversation has shifted to Connell's success. His mother is cataloging his achievements for someone who hasn't heard them before. He's built something real, she says. From nothing. Pure vision and hard work. And good instincts about people, the uncle adds. Knowing who to trust, who to bring in. He glances towards Saad, who's sitting close to Connell now, laughing at something he said. Exactly, Connell's mother agrees. Surrounding yourself with the right people makes all the difference. Adiz sets down a tray of fruit. No one pauses their conversation to acknowledge it. Connell's cousin turns toward her suddenly. Adiz, you're so quiet. Do you even understand what Connell does? All this business talk must go over your head. Laughter follows. Not cruel exactly. Casual. The kind that doesn't require malice to inflict damage. Connell doesn't intervene. He's checking his phone. I understand enough, Adiz says. She's being modest, Connell's mother interjects. Adiz keeps the home running so Connell can focus on important things. That's her contribution. Her contribution. The cousin nods, satisfied with this framework. Every successful man needs that foundation. Someone to handle the small things. Small things. Adiz picks up empty glasses. She moves through the room like furniture. Necessary, functional, unremarked upon. In the hallway, she passes Connell and Saad standing close, voices low. She doesn't slow down to hear what they're saying. She already knows the shape of it. Later, when most guests have left, Connell's mother finds her in the kitchen. You didn't eat, she observes. I wasn't hungry. You look tired. Are you taking care of yourself? You can't let yourself go just because Connell is busy. Adiz rinses the last plate. I'm fine, Ma. Are you? The question isn't concerned. It's evaluative. Because Connell needs someone who can keep up, who doesn't become a burden. The plate is clean. Adiz dries it, places it in the cabinet. I'm not a burden, she says quietly. Good. See that you aren't. The older woman leaves. Her footsteps fade toward the living room, where Connell is laughing with someone about something Adiz has already forgotten. She stands at the sink, hands empty, and looks at her reflection in the darkened window. The woman looking back is familiar but increasingly distant, like someone she used to know, before she learned that silence could be mistaken for acceptance. She turns off the light. In the living room, no one notices she's gone. Adiz opens a new folder on Monday morning. Not on the shared drive. Not on her work laptop. On the personal device she keeps in her desk drawer, the one connected to nothing. She names it by date, 2024, Q4. Inside, she creates subfolders, legal, financial, communications, operations. The system isn't new. She's been doing this for 2 years, since the first time Connell described her work as collaborative brainstorming and his execution. Since the first investor meeting where her analysis became his insight. She scans the incorporation documents first. The ones filed 3 years ago, before Connell quit his job. Her signature on every page. Her name listed as majority shareholder through a holding company the lawyer suggested she establish separately. The structure is clean, intentional. Designed for exactly this kind of asymmetry. She saves the scans with timestamps. Adds metadata. Cross-references them with bank records showing the initial capital, her consulting income, traced back through statements that predate the company by 18 months. Her phone buzzes. A message from Connell. Need the governance docs updated before the next investor call. Can you handle that today? She replies, yes. Then she opens the existing governance documents. Reads them carefully. Confirms what she already knows, that every major decision requires her written approval, buried in language most people skim past, that the operating agreement specifies her control, even if day-to-day management is delegated. Delegated, not surrendered. She updates nothing. The documents are already correct. Instead, she saves a new copy to her private folder, along with the email thread where Connell asked her to handle it, without specifying what needed changing. At lunch, she doesn't leave her office. She orders food to her desk and opens the company's financial records. The accounts she set up. The revenue streams she structured. The vendor relationships she negotiated before Connell started taking calls with them directly. She exports transaction histories. Organizes them by quarter, by entity, by purpose. Matches invoices to payments, payments to approvals. Every approval requiring her sign-off. Even when the signature was digital, automatic, easy to overlook. Her door opens without warning. Saad steps inside, holding a tablet. Hey, do you have a second? Adiz closes her laptop halfway. Not obviously. Just enough. What do you need? Kunal wanted me to confirm the numbers for the investor deck. He said you'd have the backup documentation. Which numbers? Revenue projections for next year. He wants to make sure we're aligned before the call Thursday. Adiz opens a drawer, pulls out a printed spreadsheet. The one she prepared last week. She hands it over without explanation. Saad scans it quickly. This is different from what I had. That's the current model. It accounts for the contract revisions from last month. Kunal didn't mention contract revisions. They're documented in the operations folder. He has access. Saada's expression shifts slightly, not suspicion, but recalibration. Okay, I'll sync with him on this. She leaves. Adiz waits 30 seconds, then reopens her laptop. She adds a new file to her communications subfolder. Screenshot of the original projections Saad referenced. Screenshot of the corrected version. Email timestamp showing when Adiz sent the revisions to Kunal with a clear subject line. Updated revenue model. Action required. His response, 12 hours later, looks good. No questions. No engagement with the substance. Just approval that someone else could now use to claim understanding. The pattern holds. That evening, Kunal works late. Or says he is. Adiz leaves the office at her usual time, drives home to the house that's technically half his but titled in a way that requires both signatures to sell. She opens her personal laptop again, backs up the Q4 folder to an encrypted drive, then to a cloud service registered under her maiden name, then to a physical drive she keeps in a safety deposit box Kunal doesn't know exists. 3 copies. 3 locations. Nothing dramatic. Just procedure. She thinks about the gala invitation sitting on the counter. The annual event where investors and partners and staff gather to celebrate success. Where Kunal will speak. Where her name will not appear in the program despite appearing on every foundational document. She could decline. She's declined smaller events before, citing fatigue or conflict or nothing at all. But this one is different. This one has a presentation schedule. A moment built into the program where achievements are recognized, where structures are made visible. She accepted the invitation 2 weeks ago. She opens her calendar and adds a single note to the date. Attend. No details. No explanation. Just the decision, recorded. Her phone buzzes again. Kunal's mother. Will you be home for dinner tomorrow? I'm cooking. Adiz types. I'll be working late. The response comes quickly. You work too much for someone in your position. A wife should prioritize home. Adiz doesn't reply. She closes the laptop, turns off the lights, sits in the darkness of her living room, where family photos still hang on walls but feel increasingly like documentation of something that happened to someone else. Outside, a car pulls into the driveway. Kunal, finally home. She hears his keys in the door, his footsteps in the hallway. He doesn't call out to her. He assumes she's asleep, or assumes it doesn't matter. She stays still until he passes. Then she opens her laptop one more time and adds a final file to the folder, voice memo. 60 seconds. Her own voice, calm and clear, stating the date, the current business structure, and the names of the 3 people who have the authority to access the complete records if anything were to happen. She saves it, labels it, continuity protocol, closes everything, goes to bed in the guest room she's been using for 3 weeks, since the night Kunal came home smelling like perfume that wasn't hers and didn't bother inventing an excuse. She sleeps poorly but completely. In the morning, she will return to the office. She will answer emails. She will prepare documents. She will say nothing that requires correction later. The second investor meeting happens without Adiz in the room. Kunal schedules it for Thursday afternoon, sends the calendar invitation to his inner circle. Saad, the finance lead, 2 senior advisors he brought on last quarter, people with impressive titles and minimal operational knowledge. Adiz receives no invitation. She learns about it from an email Kunal sends Wednesday night. Investor call tomorrow at 2. We'll need updated projections and the revised term sheet. Can you pull that together by noon? She reads it twice. The assumption is complete. She will produce the materials. Others will present them. She replies, yes. Then she opens the projections he's requesting. The ones that show 18-month growth trajectories based on contracts she negotiated, partnerships she structured, operational efficiencies she implemented while Kunal traveled and networked, and built relationships that depended entirely on the foundation she'd laid. She updates nothing. The numbers are already accurate. But she adds a summary page, financial controls, authorization hierarchies, signing authority. Information that's always been there, buried in appendices no one reads. She moves it forward, makes it the second slide. Then she saves two versions. One with the summary page, one without. She sends Connell the version without it. At noon Thursday, she delivers the complete packet to his office. He's on a call, so she leaves it on his desk with a note. All materials ready for 2 p.m. He doesn't look up. The meeting starts on time. Adiz can hear voices through the wall. Connell's office shares a thin partition with hers. She sits at her desk, door closed, and listens without intention. Sound carries whether she wants it to or not. Connell's voice, confident. We're positioned for exponential growth. The infrastructure is in place. An investor's voice, interested. Walk me through your operational capacity. Can you scale at the rate you're projecting? Saad responds, absolutely. We've built systems that allow for rapid expansion without proportional cost increases. Adiz built those systems. Spent 9 months restructuring workflows, renegotiating vendor contracts, implementing software integrations that reduced overhead by 30%. Saad learned about them last quarter. Another investor, and decision-making authority, who owns final approval on capital deployment. A pause. Brief. Connell, I maintain oversight on all strategic decisions. We have a tight governance structure. Oversight, not ownership. The distinction is careful, technically accurate, functionally misleading. The conversation continues. Questions about market position, competitive advantages, barrier to entry. Connell answers fluently, weaving narratives that sound earned rather than inherited. At one point, someone asks about the cap table. Standard structure, Connell says. Clean and straightforward. Happy to send the details after this call. No one asks him to describe it now. No one requests clarification on what standard means. Trust is efficient that way. The meeting ends after 90 minutes. Adiz hears chairs scraping, goodbyes. The particular tone of voice is satisfied with what they've heard. She opens her laptop and adds a new file to her records. Screenshot of the calendar invitation she didn't receive. Copy of the materials she prepared but didn't present. Audio memo noting the time, the participants, and the decision to exclude her. She doesn't label it anything accusatory. Just, meeting_202-41107_ investor_update. Facts, not interpretation. That evening, Connell comes to her office. It's late, past 7. Most people have left. The call went well, he says, leaning against her doorframe. They're moving forward with the next round. Good. I'll need you to draft the updated agreements. Same structure as last time, but with the new valuation. Adiz saves the document she's working on. When do you need it? End of next week. No rush. He stays in the doorway, watching her in a way that feels observational rather than connected. You've been quiet lately, he says. I've been working. More than usual, I mean. Distant. She meets his eyes. I'm the same as always. He studies her for another moment, then shrugs. All right. Just wanted to check. He leaves. Adiz waits until his footsteps fade, then opens a new browser window. Searches for the investor group's public portfolio. Cross-references their typical deal structures, their governance requirements, their standard due diligence processes. She finds 3 case studies where investments collapsed after discovery of misrepresented ownership structures. She bookmarks them, not because she plans to send them to anyone, just because information, once gathered, remains available for future use. Her phone buzzes. A text from Connell's mother. Connell says the business is expanding. You must be very proud of his success. Adiz stares at the message. Types yes. Deletes it. Types, he's worked hard. Sends it. The response comes immediately. He has. And it's good you support him. A man needs a foundation at home when he's building empires. Empires. Adiz locks her phone. She thinks about the gala, now 8 days away. About the presentation order she received this morning. An agenda showing Connell's keynote address, followed by remarks from senior leadership, followed by an awards ceremony recognizing outstanding contributions. Her name appears nowhere on the program. But she confirmed with the event coordinator yesterday that the archived presentation materials, the ones showing company milestones, founding documents, key achievements, will be displayed on screens throughout the venue. Standard practice for these events. Historical context. Transparency. The coordinator asked if she wanted to review the materials beforehand. Adiz said no. Just use the official records. The coordinator said that's what they always do anyway. Adiz thanked her and ended the call. She closes her laptop now, gathers her things, and walks through the empty office. The lights are motion-activated, turning off behind her as she moves through each section. In the parking garage, she sits in her car and opens the voice memo app on her phone. Records 20 seconds. Her voice, steady. November 7th. Second investor meeting concluded. Exclusion maintained. Projections accepted without verification of source. Confidence increasing. No corrections offered. She saves it to her encrypted backup. Starts the engine. Drives home to the house where Kunal is probably already asleep, where his mother is probably watching television in the guest room that used to be Adiz's office, where dinner dishes sit in the sink because no one else thinks to wash them. She will wash them when she arrives. She will prepare tomorrow's work tonight. She will continue as she has continued, until the moment continuation is no longer required. 5 days pass. Adiz watches Kunal grow comfortable in a narrative that was never accurate. He speaks about his company in conversations she overhears. He makes decisions about hiring, about strategy, about partnerships, always informing her afterward, never asking permission. She signs what requires signing, approves what requires approval, says nothing about the structure beneath the surface. On Tuesday, Saad moves into the office next to Kunal's, the one with better light, the one that was previously used for storage. Maintenance clears it out over the weekend. By Monday afternoon, Saad has a desk, a nameplate, a title that didn't exist 3 weeks ago. Chief Strategy Officer. Adiz learns about it from an email announcement. Company-wide. Celebratory. Please join us in congratulating Saad Okonkwo on her promotion to Chief Strategy Officer. Saad has been instrumental in driving our growth vision and will now lead all strategic initiatives going forward. No mention of where those initiatives originated. No reference to who built the frameworks Saad will now execute. Adiz files the email in her records folder. Adds a note. Title created without board approval. Check operating agreement provisions. She checks. The operating agreement requires her written consent for any executive appointments above director level. She never gave it. The appointment stands anyway, because no one knows to ask. Wednesday, Kunal's mother schedules a dinner. Extended family again. More people this time. She tells Adiz to prepare for 15 guests. Adiz says she has work commitments. Kunal's mother's voice sharpens over the phone. This is family. Work can wait. I have deadlines. What deadlines? You answer emails and file papers. That's not the kind of work that can't wait. Adiz holds the phone away from her ear briefly. Breathes. I'll see what I can do, she says. You'll be there, Kunal's mother corrects. Kunal is bringing important guests. You need to be present. Looking appropriate. The call ends. Adiz doesn't adjust her calendar. Thursday morning, she arrives at the office before sunrise. The building is empty, the kind of quiet that feels structural rather than temporary. She uses her access card to enter the records room. Physical files, legacy documents from before everything went digital. She finds the original incorporation papers. The ones signed in the lawyer's office 4 years ago, witnessed and notarized. Her signature clear. Kunal's signature below hers, in the space marked, secondary shareholder. She photographs each page. Close-up on the signatures. Wide shot showing the full document context. Detail shot of the date stamp. Returns everything exactly as she found it. Back in her office, she uploads the photos to her secure drive. Cross-references them with the digital copies she already has. Confirms consistency. Then she opens her email and finds a message from the gala coordinator. Final confirmation needed for Saturday's event. Your registration is confirmed. Would you like to be included in the VIP reception beforehand? Adiz types, no, thank you. I'll arrive at the scheduled start time. Sends it. The coordinator replies immediately, understood. See you Saturday at 7 p.m. Adiz marks the exchange as important. Saves it. Friday afternoon, Kunal stops by her office again. He's wearing a suit she hasn't seen before. Expensive, tailored. The kind purchased for occasions that signal arrival. You're coming tomorrow, right? He asks. To the gala? Yes. Good. It's important we present well. As a unit. A unit. I'll be there, she says. He nods, Distracted already. Sada's giving remarks during the program. About our strategic direction. Should be good for visibility. I'm sure it will be. He lingers. You seem fine with all this. The changes. Sada's role. Adiz saves the document on her screen. Looks at him directly. Why wouldn't I be? I don't know. Just checking. You've been hard to read lately. I'm the same as I've always been. He studies her, searching for something he can't identify. Then shrugs. All right. See you tomorrow night. He leaves. Adiz closes her office door. Sits in the silence for 3 full minutes. Then she opens her secure folder one final time. Reviews every file, every document, every piece of evidence she's gathered. Not frantically. Methodically. She creates a master index. Links each file to its corresponding context. Adds timestamps, participants, outcomes. She's been building this archive for 2 years, but she organizes it now as if someone else will need to understand it. As if clarity matters more than memory. When she's finished, she creates one additional document. A timeline. Not emotional. Not accusatory. Just factual. 2021 to 2003. Company incorporated. Initial capital, $150,000. Source, Adiz Okafor Consulting Income. Documented. 2021 to 2006. First client contract signed. Negotiated by A. Okafor. Documented in email archives. 2021 to 2009. Kunal Okafor leaves outside employment to join full-time. Salary approved by A. Okafor as primary shareholder. 2022 to 2004. First investor meeting. Materials prepared by A. Okafor. Presented by K. Okafor. 2023 to 2001. Company revenue exceeds $2 million annually. Operational systems designed and implemented by A. Okafor. 2024 to 2003. Saad Okonkwo hired as strategic director without required board approval per operating agreement. 2024 to 2009. Second investor round initiated. Projections prepared by A. Okafor. Presented by K. Okafor and S. Okonkwo. 2024 to 11. Annual gala scheduled. Program lists K. Okafor as founder and CEO. Company records list A. Okafor as founder and majority shareholder. She saves it. Labels it. Company _history _factual _record. Backs it up to all 3 locations. Then she closes her laptop and goes home. Kunal isn't there. His mother is, cooking in the kitchen that Adiz owns half of, using groceries Adiz purchased. You're late. The older woman says without turning around. I was working. Always working. But what do you have to show for it? Adiz doesn't answer. She walks past the kitchen, up the stairs, into the guest room that's become hers by default. She opens her closet. Pulls out the dress she'll wear tomorrow. Simple, professional, unremarkable. The kind of thing that doesn't attract attention or deflect it. That simply exists. She hangs it on the door. Sits on the bed. Looks at her phone, where 17 unread messages wait. Most from people asking for things. None asking how she is. She doesn't read them. Instead, she sets an alarm for tomorrow evening. 6:30 p.m. Prepare for event. Then she turns off the lights and lies in the darkness, listening to sounds from downstairs. Television voices, kitchen cleanup, her mother-in-law's footsteps moving through rooms that aren't hers, but that she occupies with absolute confidence. Tomorrow is Saturday. Tomorrow, the room will be full of people who've spent years deciding what Adiz is worth. Tomorrow, they'll discover what they missed. But tonight, she sleeps. Not peacefully. Not restlessly. Just completely. The way people sleep when they've done everything that can be done in advance, and all that remains is showing up. Saturday arrives without ceremony. Adiz wakes at 6. The house is quiet. Kunal left early for the VIP reception, his mother still asleep in the guest room. She showers, dresses, eats nothing. Her hands are steady as she fastens the simple necklace she bought herself 3 years ago, before any of this became complicated. The dress fits the same as it always has. Navy blue. Conservative neckline. Nothing that invites comment. She checks her phone. One message from Kunal, running late. Meet you there. She doesn't reply. At 6:45, she drives to the venue. The hotel is downtown, glass and steel, the kind of place that charges for parking and assumes you can afford it. She parks in the garage, takes the elevator to the lobby, follows signs toward the ballroom. Registration tables line the entrance. Young women in matching outfits check names against lists, hand out programs, direct people toward coat check. Adiz gives her name. The woman scans the list, finds it near the bottom. Here you are? Adiz Okafor. No title beside it. Just the name. She accepts the program without looking at it. Declines coat check. Enters the ballroom. The space is already half full. Round tables, white linens, centerpieces designed to look expensive without being specific. A stage at the far end, screens flanking it, currently displaying the company logo in slow rotation. She finds her assigned seat. Table 12. Near the back, away from the stage. The farthest table from visibility. She sits. Around her, people arrive in groups. Investors she recognizes from meetings she wasn't invited to. Employees who've never spoken to her directly. Partners who address Kunnel but look past her. They fill tables closer to the front, clustering where proximity to the stage signals importance. Kunnel appears 20 minutes later. He's at table 3, front and center. Saad sits beside him, wearing red, deliberate, attention-catching. His mother is there too, along with the senior advisors, the finance lead, 2 board members Adiz appointed but who've never acknowledged her role. No one looks toward table 12. Adiz folds her hands on the table. Waits. The program begins at 7:30. Lights dim. A voice welcomes everyone. Thanks sponsors. Outlines the evening's agenda. Dinner will be served. Remarks will follow. Then recognition of achievements. Food arrives in courses Adiz doesn't taste. She eats mechanically, enough to avoid notice. Around her, table mates make small talk. People from other companies, partners in adjacent industries. One woman asks what Adiz does. I work with the company, Adiz says. Oh, what department? Operations. The woman nods politely, loses interest, turns to the person on her other side. After dinner, the lights shift again. The screens change from the company logo to a presentation template. Professional. Clean. The kind Adiz designed 2 years ago. A man takes the stage, the MC, someone hired for the evening. He introduces Kunnel with language that sounds rehearsed. Please welcome the visionary behind one of our fastest-growing companies, founder and CEO, Kunnel Okafor. Applause fills the room. Sustained. Enthusiastic. Kunnel stands, buttons his jacket, walks to the stage with the ease of someone who's done this before. He grips the podium, smiles into the light. Thank you, he says. Tonight is about celebrating what we've built together. Together. 4 years ago, this company was just an idea. A vision of what could be possible if we were bold enough to pursue it. An idea. Not capital. Not contracts. Not infrastructure. He continues. The speech is polished. He talks about challenges overcome, risks taken, beliefs validated. He thanks investors for trusting his vision. Thanks the team for executing his strategy. Thanks partners for believing in his leadership. He does not mention Adiz. The audience listens, rapt. This is the story they understand. Singular genius, determined effort, earned success. When he finishes, the applause is louder than before. He returns to his table. Saad touches his arm, says something that makes him smile. The MC returns. And now, remarks from our Chief Strategy Officer, Saad Okonkwo, on where we're headed next. Saad takes the stage. Her delivery is confident, clear. She outlines expansion plans, market opportunities, strategic initiatives. She speaks about our approach and our methodology, using frameworks Adiz created, language Adiz wrote, analysis Adiz produced. The audience takes notes, nods, believes. When Saad finishes, the MC announces a brief intermission before the awards ceremony. People stand, stretch, migrate toward the bar. Adiz remains seated. She watches the screens flanking the stage. They're cycling through company history now, automated, part of the venue's standard presentation package. Photos from early days, milestone achievements, press mentions, then documents appear, just for a moment, rotating with the images. Incorporation papers, the first investor deck, operating agreements. Adiz sees her name. Not large, not emphasized, just there, in the spaces that matter. Founder, primary shareholder, authorized signatory. Most people aren't watching the screens. They're networking, drinking, laughing. But some are? A few. The detail-oriented ones. The ones who read footnotes. She sees an investor at table 7 lean toward his colleague, gesture toward the screen. Sees the colleague pull out a phone, type something. At table 3, Kunnel is deep in conversation with a board member. He's not watching the screens at all. The intermission ends. People return to their seats. The MC takes the stage again. Before we move to our awards ceremony, I've been asked to share some additional company milestones. Adi's hands are folded in her lap. Completely still. The screens change. More documents now. Financial records. Signing authorities. Cap table information, the kind usually kept private but technically part of the public celebration of company history. Her name appears again and again. Primary authorization. Majority owner. Founding investor. The room is quieter now. People are watching. At table 3, someone taps Kunnel's shoulder, points toward the screen. He looks up. His expression doesn't change immediately, just a slight tightening around his eyes. Confusion, not alarm. The MC continues reading from his notes, oblivious. The company was founded in March 2021 with initial capital investment from. He pauses, reads the name on the card he's holding. From Adiz Okafor, who remains the company's majority shareholder and serves as primary board authority. The silence that follows isn't dramatic. It's procedural, the sound of information being processed. Kunnel is standing now, not quickly, but deliberately. He's looking toward the back of the room, scanning. Adiz remains seated. The MC, sensing something off-script, glances toward the event coordinator in the wings. She shrugs, checks her tablet, confirms that this is the official information provided by the company. Someone at table 7 raises a hand. I'm sorry, can you clarify the ownership structure? The MC looks uncertain. I'm just reading from the materials provided. Another voice, from table 4. An investor Adiz recognizes. Who prepared these documents? Before the MC can answer, Adiz stands. Not dramatically, not slowly. She stands the way people stand when they've been sitting long enough, and it's time to be seen. The room finds her. Every eye. She removes her coat, drapes it over her chair. Then she begins to walk. Not toward the exit, toward the stage. Her steps are measured, unhurried. She moves through the tables with the confidence of someone who knows exactly where they belong and has simply been waiting for the room to catch up. Kunnel is frozen at his table. Sada's face has gone pale. Adiz reaches the stairs at the side of the stage, climbs them without hesitation. The MC steps aside, uncertain, still holding his notes. Adiz takes the podium, looks out at the room, and speaks. Her voice is steady, not loud. The microphone carries it. Good evening. The room is absolutely still. My name is Adiz Okafor. I'm the founder and majority shareholder of this company. Some of you know that. Most of you don't. She doesn't look at Kunnel. She looks at the room. I'm not here to give a speech. I'm here to correct the record. Behind her, the screens continue their rotation. Her name appears again, attached to documents, authorizations, foundational decisions. In March 2021, I registered this company using capital from consulting work I'd been doing for 3 years. I built the initial business model, negotiated the first client contracts, and established the operational infrastructure before bringing on additional team members. An investor at table 7, the one who asked the earlier question, is recording on his phone now. Adiz continues. The decision to delegate public-facing responsibilities was strategic. I preferred to focus on operations while others handled external relations. That arrangement worked until it stopped being delegation and became erasure. She pauses, not for effect, to let the distinction land. Over the past 2 years, I've watched my work attributed to others. I've watched decisions I made described as collaborative input. I've watched titles created and roles assigned without the board approval that our operating agreement requires. I've allowed this to continue while documenting every instance. At table 3, Kunnel is standing now. His face is unreadable from a distance, but his posture is rigid. Adiz reaches into the small bag she's carried with her, pulls out a folder, sets it on the podium. This contains copies of incorporation documents, financial records, and authorization chains. The originals are filed with our legal counsel and with the state. Anyone who wants to verify what I'm saying can do so. She opens the folder, reads from the top page. Company registration, March 15, 2021. Registered agent, Adiz Okafor. Initial capital investment, $150,000, sourced from A. Okafor's consulting income, documented and traced. Primary shareholder, Adiz Okafor, controlling 68% of voting shares through a holding structure established prior to company formation. Her voice doesn't waver. She's reading facts. First board meeting, April 2021. Present, Adiz Okafor. Minutes recorded and filed. All subsequent board decisions have required my written approval per the operating agreement signed by all parties. She looks up now. Finds the investors at table 7. The projections you've reviewed in recent funding conversations? I built those models. The operational efficiencies that support our growth targets? I designed and implemented those systems. The strategic partnerships you've been told demonstrate leadership? I negotiated those contracts. At table 3, Saad has her hand over her mouth. Kunal's mother is staring, motionless. Adiz continues. I'm not saying this to diminish anyone's contributions. People have worked hard here. But contributions should be accurately attributed. Credit should reflect reality. She closes the folder. Effective immediately, I'm resuming active operational control. The executive structure will be realigned to match our legal governance documents. Any decisions made outside proper authorization channels will be reviewed and, where necessary, reversed. The silence is no longer procedural. It's stunned. I'll be meeting with our investor partners individually over the next week to ensure everyone has accurate information about ownership and decision-making authority. I'll also be reviewing all executive appointments made in the past 18 months to confirm they comply with our operating agreement. She pauses, looks directly at Kunal now. This isn't personal. It's procedural. The company has value because it was built on a solid foundation. That foundation remains. But clarity about who built it is necessary for continued growth. Kunal opens his mouth, closes it. Adiz picks up the folder, steps back from the podium. Thank you for your time. The awards ceremony can continue. She walks down the stage steps. The MC is still frozen, uncertain whether to resume. As Adiz moves through the room, people turn in their seats to watch. Some are checking phones, searching for public records, verifying claims. Others are simply staring, recalibrating everything they thought they understood. She doesn't return to table 12. She walks toward the exit, past table 3, where Kunal stands with his hands at his sides, where Saad won't meet her eyes, where his mother's expression has shifted from certainty to something unrecognizable. An investor from table 7 intercepts her near the door. Ms. Okafor, I'd like to schedule time to discuss this. My assistant will coordinate, Adiz says, then stops. Actually, I don't have an assistant. I've been doing that work myself. Contact me directly. My information is in the company directory under operations. She gives him her card. He takes it, studies it, nods slowly. Another investor approaches. Then another. She handles each briefly, professionally. Yes, she can meet. Yes, she has documentation. Yes, everything is verifiable. Behind them, the room is erupting into conversation. Not loud. These are controlled people in a professional setting, but urgent. Phones are out. People are clustered, talking rapidly. On stage, the MC attempts to resume. Ladies and gentlemen, if we could return to our seats. No one is listening. Adiz reaches the exit. She doesn't look back. In the hallway outside the ballroom, she stops, leans against the wall. Her hands are shaking now, not from fear, from the simple release of tension held too long. She closes her eyes, breathes. Behind her, she hears footsteps. Quick ones. She turns. Kunal is there. His face is pale, his expression caught between anger and disbelief. What did you just do? His voice is low, controlled despite everything. I corrected the record. You humiliated me. In front of everyone. Adiz straightens. I stated facts. If facts are humiliating, that's not my responsibility. You could have talked to me. Privately. I tried talking. For 2 years. You weren't listening. He steps closer. This is my company. I built this. No. Her voice is quiet but absolute. You work for this company. I built it. There's a difference. Everyone thinks. Everyone thought wrong. Now they know better. He stares at her, searching for the woman who sat silently through meetings, who nodded when he spoke, who never corrected him in public. She's still there, but she's also someone he never bothered to see. What happens now, he asks finally. That depends on whether you want to continue working here under accurate terms, or whether you'd prefer to resign. Resign? From my own company? It was never your company, Kunal. You were given a role. You exceeded it. That ends now. His jaw tightens. Saad was appointed without proper authorization. That will be addressed. You can't just. I can. I have. The documentation is clear. He looks at her like he's seeing a stranger. Who are you? Adiz picks up her bag. I'm the person who's been here the entire time. You just weren't paying attention. She walks past him, down the hallway, toward the elevator. He doesn't follow. When she reaches her car, she sits in the driver's seat without starting the engine. Her phone is buzzing, messages piling up. Investors, employees, people suddenly very interested in clarification. She ignores them all. Instead, she opens her secure folder one last time. Adds a final entry. November 9th, 2024. 8:47 p.m. Public correction completed. Record established. Then she closes her phone, starts the car, drives home to the house that will require difficult conversations about division and departure. But that's tomorrow's work. Tonight, she's done enough. Sunday morning, Adiz wakes in the guest room to an empty house. Kunal's car is gone from the driveway. His mother's suitcase has disappeared from the hallway. The silence is complete, not peaceful, but vacant. The kind that follows evacuation rather than rest. She makes coffee, sits at the kitchen table with her laptop, opens her email. 43 new messages since last night. She sorts them by sender. Investors first. 3 requests for emergency meetings. 2 asking for clarification on governance structure. 1 from the lead investor at Table 7, requesting copies of all founding documents by end of business Monday. She replies to that one. Documents will be provided Monday morning. Please confirm preferred delivery method. The others she acknowledges briefly, available for meetings this week. My assistant will coordinate. Then she corrects herself in each one, deleting the assistant reference, adding, please contact me directly to schedule. Employee emails next. Confusion. Concern. 2 resignation letters. Senior advisors Kunal hired, clearly understanding their positions, are now uncertain. She accepts both resignations effective immediately, notes that final paychecks will include severance per their contracts. 1 email from Saad. The subject line is blank. The body contains 3 sentences. I didn't know. I should have asked more questions. I'm sorry. Adiz reads it twice. Doesn't reply yet. She moves through the rest. Board members requesting emergency sessions, partners asking about continuity, vendors suddenly concerned about payment authorization. She handles each systematically. Facts, timelines, documentation references. By noon, her inbox is managed. Her phone rings. Kunal's number. She answers. Yes. His voice is tight. We need to talk. About next steps. All right. Not over the phone. Can you meet me somewhere? When? Today? This afternoon. She considers. The office. 3 o'clock. I was thinking somewhere neutral. The office is neutral. It's a workplace. A pause. Fine. 3 o'clock. He hangs up. Adiz finishes her coffee. Showers. Dresses and work clothes. The same type she wore yesterday. Unremarkable and professional. Drives to the office an hour early. The building is empty on Sunday. Her footsteps echo in the hallway. She unlocks her office, sits at her desk, pulls out the folder she brought home Friday. She reviews the operating agreement one more time. Section 4.2, Employment and Compensation. Section 5.1, Removal of Officers. Section 7.3, Dissolution and Exit Provisions. At 3, she hears the elevator. Footsteps in the hallway. Her door is open. Kunal appears. He's wearing jeans and a jacket. Casual in a way that feels like armor against formality. His face is drawn, like he hasn't slept. He doesn't sit. I talked to a lawyer this morning, he says. So did I. They said everything you claimed last night is accurate. It is. They also said I have grounds to contest this. Sweat equity. Contribution value. Years of work. You can try. Her voice is level. It will be expensive. It will take years. And you'll lose. He leans against the doorframe. You planned this. I documented reality. There's a difference. For how long? 2 years. 2 years. He repeats it quietly. You've been building a case against me for 2 years. I've been protecting the company's integrity. When your behavior diverged from accurate representation, I made sure the facts remained accessible. My behavior. His laugh is bitter. I worked 80-hour weeks. I brought in every major client we have. I built relationships that made this company viable. You did work hard. Those contributions have value, but they don't change the ownership structure, and they don't justify taking credit for work you didn't do. Everyone does that. It's how leadership works. Not in this company. He's quiet for a long moment. When he speaks again, his voice is different. Smaller. What do you want? Adiz opens her folder, slides a document across the desk. I want accurate attribution going forward. I want governance compliance. I want executive appointments that follow proper procedure. She pauses. And I want Saad removed from her current role. Saad didn't do anything wrong. Saad accepted a position that wasn't properly authorized. Whether she knew that or not, the position is invalid. She's good at her job. Then she can reapply through proper channels. If her qualifications merit the role, she'll be reconsidered. Kunal picks up the document, scans it. This is a separation agreement. It's optional. You can stay on in a reduced capacity, operations manager, reporting directly to me. Appropriate salary, clear boundaries, no public-facing representation without approval. Or you can accept the separation package. 6 months severance. Positive reference. Clean exit. He sets the document down. You're firing me. I'm offering you choices. You exceeded your authority. That can either be corrected through restructure or through separation. You decide. And if I refuse both, then I terminate your employment for cause. No severance. No reference. Legal justification is documented. He stares at her. You really did plan this. I planned for every contingency. That's my job. Your job. He shakes his head. I thought we were partners. We were married. We were never partners. Not in the business. The distinction lands visibly. Is that what this is about? His voice rises slightly. Us? Saad. This is about the company. The rest is separate. You can't separate them. Everything is connected. I can and I am. She closes her folder. You have until Wednesday to decide. Operations manager or separation. After Wednesday, the offer expires and I proceed with termination for cause. He picks up the separation agreement again. Reads more carefully this time. This bars me from claiming any ownership stake. You don't have an ownership stake to claim. The agreement just formalizes that reality in exchange for the severance package. 6 months isn't enough. It's generous given the circumstances. I built this company with you. You work for this company. Under my authority, using my capital and infrastructure. That's documented. He sets the paper down. His hands are shaking slightly. What about the house? That's separate. We'll handle it through divorce proceedings. You're divorcing me. Did you think I wouldn't? He doesn't answer. The question doesn't require one. After a long silence, he picks up the agreement, folds it, puts it in his jacket pocket. I need to think. You have until Wednesday. He nods, turns to leave, stops at the door. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. Yes, you did. You meant for it exactly this way. You just didn't mean to get caught. He doesn't deny it. He leaves. Adiz sits in the empty office for another hour, processes more emails, schedules the investor meetings for next week, sends a company-wide message for Monday morning. Effective immediately, all strategic decisions require review and approval from the primary shareholder. Organizational changes will be communicated as they occur. Business operations continue normally. She doesn't sign it with warmth or reassurance. Just her name. Just her title, the real one. Adiz Okafor, founder and CEO. When she finally leaves, the sun is setting. The parking lot is still empty except for her car. She drives home. The house is still vacant. She suspects it will stay that way. She unpacks her work bag, charges her laptop, prepares for Monday. At some point, her phone buzzes. A message from Saad. I meant what I said. I'm sorry. I'll clear out my office tomorrow. Adiz reads it. Types. Wait until I've reviewed the situation properly. Don't make any decisions yet. Sends it. Then she turns off her phone. Sits in the living room, where family photos still hang, but feel like evidence of something that happened to someone else. Tomorrow, the real work begins. Rebuilding structure. Establishing clarity. Running the company the way it was always meant to be run. Tonight, she allows herself to feel the weight of what's been lost alongside what's been recovered. Not grief. Not triumph. Just the recognition that some things end before they can be properly saved, and that clarity sometimes costs more than continued confusion. She doesn't cry. She hasn't earned that yet. Instead, she sits in the silence and waits for Monday. 3 months later, the office looks different. Not dramatically. The walls are the same. The furniture hasn't changed, but the atmosphere has shifted in ways that don't announce themselves. Adi's name is on the door now. Her title is accurate on all documents, all websites, all communications. When investors call, they ask for her directly. When employees have questions about strategy, they come to her office instead of looking for someone else to translate her authority. Connell accepted the separation agreement on Wednesday, 2 hours before the deadline. He signed without ceremony, collected his personal items from the office on a Saturday when no one else was there, and disappeared into whatever comes after being written out of your own narrative. Sod state. After review, Adiz determined her technical skills were legitimate, her strategic thinking sound. She was repositioned, same level, different title, accurate scope. She works quietly now, competently, without the presumption that came from proximity to borrowed authority. They don't talk about what happened. There's nothing to discuss. The company is growing. Properly now, with clear governance and accurate attribution. 2 new investor groups came in after reviewing the corrected records. The board meets monthly, real meetings, with agendas and minutes and decisions that follow documented procedure. Adiz hired an assistant. A real one. Someone who handles scheduling and communication so she can focus on the work that actually requires her attention. She moved out of the house in December. Divorce proceedings are ongoing, civil, procedural, boring in their predictability. Connell's lawyer tried arguing sweat equity. Her lawyer presented documentation. The judge reviewed it and moved on. She rented an apartment downtown, smaller than the house, quieter, the kind of place where no one expects her to be anything other than herself. On a Tuesday afternoon in February, she's reviewing quarterly projections when her assistant knocks. There's someone here to see you. No appointment. She says it's personal. Adiz looks up. Who? She didn't give a name. Just said you'd know her. Adiz closes her laptop. Send her in. A moment later, Connell's mother appears in the doorway. She looks older than Adiz remembers. Or maybe the certainty is gone, and that's what's changed. She stands awkwardly, holding a purse with both hands. I won't take much of your time, she says. Adiz doesn't stand. What do you need? I wanted to. She stops. Starts again. I wanted to say I didn't know. About the company. About how it was really structured. All right. Connell never told me. I thought I assumed. You assumed what everyone assumed. That he built it. The older woman nods. I said things. To you. Things that weren't fair. Adiz waits. I'm sorry. For those things. The apology sits in the air between them. Adiz doesn't reach for it. Is there anything else? She asks. He's struggling. Connell. The separation, the divorce, losing the company. He's not handling it well. That's not my responsibility. I know. I just thought you should know. Why? The question seems to catch her off guard. Because you were married. Because you spent years together. We spent years in proximity. That's not the same thing. Connell's mother flinches slightly. You've become hard. No. I've become clear. They look at each other across the desk. Years of assumptions stacked between them, unresolved and now irrelevant. I should go, the older woman says finally. Yes. She turns toward the door. Stops. Did you ever love him? Adiz considers the question. Answers honestly. I don't know. I thought I did. But maybe I just love the idea of being seen. And now I don't need to be seen. I just need to be accurate. Connell's mother nods slowly. Leaves without another word. Adiz returns to her projections. The numbers are solid. The growth is sustainable. The foundation is secure. That evening, she drives home through traffic that doesn't frustrate her anymore. Parks in the garage beneath her building. Takes the elevator to the 8th floor. Her apartment is minimal. Furniture she chose herself. Books she actually reads. No photographs on the walls yet. Maybe eventually. Maybe not. She makes dinner. Simple, efficient. Eats at the counter while reviewing emails on her phone. One catches her attention. From an address she doesn't recognize. The subject line? Question about your journey. She opens it. Ms. Okafor, I heard you speak at a recent industry event. Actually, I heard about you. Someone mentioned what happened at your company gala last year. I've been trying to find information about how you structured your business from the beginning, because I'm starting something similar and I want to make sure I don't end up invisible in my own company. Would you be willing to talk? Even briefly? I don't have much to offer except the promise that I'll actually listen. Adiz reads it twice. She thinks about responding. About saying yes. about sharing what she learned through years of strategic silence and eventual correction. She thinks about saying no, about protecting the energy it took to reclaim what was always hers. She saves the email to a folder labeled pending. Doesn't answer yet. Instead, she finishes dinner, washes her single plate and fork, changes into comfortable clothes, sits on her couch and looks out the window at the city lights, thousands of them, anonymous and persistent. Somewhere out there, Kunnel is rebuilding whatever comes next for him. Somewhere, Saad is learning different lessons about authority and assumption. Somewhere, people are still telling the story of what happened at that gala, filling in details, drawing conclusions, learning the wrong lessons or the right ones. Adiz doesn't think about any of it. She thinks instead about tomorrow's meetings, about the product launch scheduled for March, about the operational efficiencies she's been modeling that could reduce overhead by another 15%. She thinks about work that doesn't require explanation or defense, about structures that hold because they were built correctly from the beginning. Her phone buzzes. A text from her lawyer. Divorce will be final next month. No complications. She replies, "Thank you." Sets the phone down. Outside, the city continues. Inside, her apartment is quiet in a way that feels earned rather than empty. She doesn't reflect on what she's lost, doesn't celebrate what she's gained. Those frameworks require the belief that any of this was about winning, about justice, about vindication. It wasn't. It was about accuracy, about ensuring that the record matched reality, about refusing to disappear just because disappearance was convenient for everyone else. She succeeded at that. The rest, the loneliness, the complexity, the unresolved questions about what love means when it coexists with invisibility, those things remain. She doesn't try to solve them. Some tensions don't resolve. Some questions don't close. Some silences are permanent, not because the answers don't exist, but because speaking them wouldn't change anything that matters. Adiz stands, turns off the lights, goes to bed. Tomorrow, she'll wake up and run the company she built. Tomorrow, she'll make decisions that will be accurately attributed. Tomorrow, she'll exist in the space she carved out through patience and precision and the refusal to accept other people's versions of her story. Tonight, she sleeps. Not peacefully, not restlessly, just completely. The way people sleep when they've finished something that needed finishing and everything that comes after is just continuation.